Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and I'm here today with author Tina Beier. Tina, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So, how was your week?
Oh, busy. Last week before winter break, I guess. So lots of stuff to do and lots of sick toddlers around here. So this
Oh
is a
yeah,
nice
it's that
break.
time of year. And now, just a regular cold isn't just a regular cold anymore. It's do we, you know, so it ends up
Yeah,
being more than
exactly.
just a cold. Yeah.
It's like, do you have to stay from home from school for 10 days?
Do you have to quarantine? Can I go to work? Can I see anyone? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, I usually interview either booktubers or authors, but you're a little different because you're also an author and a booktuber. You're an author and a booktuber. And your
hmm
book, Escaping First Contact, which I have right here, which is on my TBR, is your newest book. So can you tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. It's a space opera, and so it's basically set in this universe where humans. It's about I can't remember if it's 200 or 300 years in the future. Anyway, it's in the future, and humans have met with four other alien species in the galaxy, and we don't like each other though. So we've had kind of a war with one, and the other two were kind of on polite terms with. But anyway, these aliens and humans are investigating this derelict ship on the edge of space, and basically it turns out to be a trap. So eight of these people that don't really like one another have to work together to escape. Kind of first contact, so that's the title. But so that's kind
Oh,
of the
gotcha.
basics of it. A lot of it is very character driven, so it's focused on how the characters interact with one another, and there's a lot of like dialogue and banter. It's I was actually funnier than I intended it to be, so that was a nice surprise. Actually, it was really fun to write and to work on. So
Oh, nice. So
yeah.
what is it like to write a space opera? I would imagine there's a lot of world building involved in that. Can that get kind of convoluted?
Yeah, so I'm usually more of like a pantser than a plotter, but in this one I actually had like charts of all the different species and kind of their traits. So I kind of worked from their basics, like what do they look like? And then I was like, what's their government systems like? What's their monetary systems like? How is their worlds and colonies function? That kind of thing. And then I kind of wrote it all in charts. And I didn't make it all at the start. Sometimes, I'm like, oh, that would be interesting while I was writing, and I added that in, or I kind of modified other aspects. So it was kind of cool because I was kind of building five or six worlds in one, and they had to make them all kind of interact. So it was interesting. I didn't make up languages, but I made up certain words and certain kind of expressions that each kind of species uses, and it was a lot of world building, definitely.
Oh wow. So how did you keep track of all that? Do you have like notebooks or spreadsheets
Notebooks.
or notebooks?
I started using that World Anvil website, but I found that I didn't want to keep opening the browser all the time because I would get distracted from writing. So I just used like a basically just a coil notebook. I don't have it over here, but just like a big coil notebook, and I had each species had 2 or 3 pages, and I would just like add notes. And then when I got to the characters, I had these big kind of foolscap pages. I actually stole them from my kids, like giant drawing papers. I wrote on the back, and I just listed everybody and kind of their personalities and their character arcs, and then how that related to their um like their culture, I guess you could say. And it was
Oh
hard because
wow.
I know like on Earth we have so many different cultures and stuff. So I tried to it, I didn't want to make it reductive, but I tried to make it kind of varied for each species. It was hard to do though. I would say that part was the hardest part, and try to not make it seem like everybody in that universe was the same.
That sounds like it can get pretty complicated pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot to keep track of. That's really neat. Hello,
Yeah.
Crystal. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great week. And I was wondering, um, is this book this is the first in a series? Is that right?
Yeah. So the second one, A Threat Revealed, is coming out at the end of January, and then the third one is coming out in March, hopefully. It
Oh,
should be end of
nice.
March. I get
Wow,
delays
that's pretty
sometimes.
quick.
I wrote them all at the same time, and I edited them all. Like I sent them to my editor as a big chunk because I wanted her to weigh in on things that maybe in the first book weren't clear, but this third book cleared up, kind of thing like that. I wanted a great deal of continuity because it drives me crazy when I read like a series and then there is continuity errors. So hopefully there's none of those, because that was kind of my intent in writing it all at once. So it's a self-contained series. It's not going to be like a. I mean, I could write more in the universe, but the story is within the 3 books.
Wow. So you wrote all three all at once, and then you had them
Yeah, like
all.
back to back.
Wow. How long did that take you to write?
Oh, when did I start writing it? I think I started writing it in early 2020. Yeah, because that's when I released my first book. That wasn't this. I wrote a post-apocalyptic book as well. That one I released in April of 2020, and so I think I started this one around the time of that because that's when COVID really took off. And I had, yeah, that makes sense. So I think I started in April 2020, and then I finished it in like May of 2021, I guess. Yeah. Sorry.
So
So about a
did
year,
you did
year and a half.
year and a half? Well, that's pretty good for 3 books. That's a lot of writing.
I was on maternity leave.
Yeah, a lot of
So
time.
my baby was on my chest basically through books 2 and 3,
Nice.
and then editing and stuff. So I wasn't like working. So I was doing that. I was raising my kids, but
Yeah,
they nap. They
that's
nap.
hard work. Yeah. And did you know where you were going to set each where each book started and the other one began? Did you have all that planned out?
Yeah, I did. So I had very specific kind of character arcs for each book. So I had an overarching. Sorry, my dog just walked in. I had an overarching character arcs for the whole series, the whole trilogy, and then I had small ones for each book. So I had those plotted out, like what characters would do and how they would react to that in book 2 and in book 3, and how that built. Like I had one couple that was having marital issues, and I had that whole thing plotted out from book 1 to book 3. Some things I brought in, or some things actually did get added later. One character had a way better arc in book 3 than I intended, but that didn't take away from the overall story, or didn't change the overall story really.
So when you started writing it, did you know where it would end, or did you have the story all plotted out in your head, or did it just kind of evolve as you went?
mm, so I had like kind of plots pointed. So I had like beginning, middle, and end kind of plotted out. So I knew what the end result was going to be, but how it got there, I let that kind of go organically. So
What were your inspirations for the story? What kind of motivated you to write this kind of book?
I think I was thinking, well, I really love Alan Dean Foster. So I don't know, he's a classic sci-fi writer. He's still around. I love his. I actually had it around here somewhere. Oh, it's way over there. But his books, Nor Crystal Tears, is like the start of his kind of very very in-depth space opera, alien culture series. That's kind of like the first context story, and then he has a whole like slew of these books, like probably 30 or 40 of them set in this universe. And I love that universe. I just love how he's put so much detail into his alien cultures. So I definitely drew from that. I was like, I want to create really robust alien cultures. But then it also gets a lot from kind of 90s sci-fi and action movies like Virus and Event Horizon. That's more horror, but like those kind of like movies, that at least the first book. And then books 2 and 3 are more of the kind of Star Warsy, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of like fun space romps. It's definitely it's a serious book, but it's not like a heavy book, So it was definitely more fun. My first book is very heavy, so this was more light and kind of more about kind of the characters interacting and like fun situations and interesting kind of twists than a really depressing story, I guess you could say.
And what's do you have any kind of favorite scenes or anything to write? What's like do you like to write action scenes or dialogue, or are there certain things that you really enjoy?
I love writing dialogue. Dialogue is my favorite thing to write. I just love when characters banter, and there's a lot of that in this, and they just have a lot of kind of back and forth and arguments. I love when characters kind of insult one another. So I'm trying to think. I don't know if you ever watched Red versus Blue, like that Halo Makima kind of show. I watched it in university, and I remember loving it, and how the soldiers kind of made fun of each other all the time. And this kind of has a lot of that. Has a lot of like,
Oh,
I don't hate you, but I don't really like you, and we're gonna bicker and that kind of thing. And I love doing that. I also like writing action fighting scenes a lot too.
nice. It seems when I think about, because I'm not a writer, but when I think about writing, it must be tough to write dialogue. That seems like it's difficult to do.
I actually don't find it that hard. For me, I know a lot of people say it's the hardest thing that they find in writing, but for me, I don't know, it always just flows so naturally. And obviously it's not perfect the first time around, but I just find it's really fun to like inhabit that person's head and then be like, what would they say? Or I'm like, what would be a funny thing to say? Or what would be a hard hitting thing to say? I find it really, that part I really like. I'm trying to think of what I don't like writing. Oh, I don't know. Sometimes certain characters like are not tiresome, but they're not as interesting as other characters to me. So even though I have to include their scenes, I'm kind of like, okay, come on, get you out of the way. Let's move on to this person that's more interesting to me.
How important is it? Because I hear some people say that they don't like unlikable characters. Is it important for you as an author to make characters all likable? Is that ever a concern?
Um, Sometimes, I mean, I'd say all of my characters have redeeming qualities, but all of them also are flawed in certain ways. And I think that will speak to certain people. Like some people might find one character, their name is Stairs, annoying. I know that some people might, but some people really, really like them. So I think it depends on your personality because there's certain characters in popular books that I think are annoying that other people love, things like that. So I don't usually make characters that are like despicable, like villains kind of thing. Just because I find that sometimes that makes them a bit too kind of flat, but
Hmm.
it can work in certain situations. And then I try not to make like, the Mary Sue kind of too good person. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
find that, I know it's fun to give people kind of flaws. I find it makes them more realistic and human in a way, even if they are aliens.
Yeah. For their personalities, yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier today that you had a blurb from an author that you really enjoy. So how did that
Yeah.
come about?
Well, so with my first book, I never thought about doing this, but then I learned more about the industry, and the big five always get people, the big five publishers. I mean, always get other authors to write on the cover. Like this is a great book. Like Stephen King always writes this was great. On other horror novels. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to send a bunch of queries out to authors and their agents and ask them if they would be willing to read my book and write a blurb. Obviously, I'll send them a book, etc. If they hate it, that's fine. And I sent out not that many, maybe like 10 or 12, and I got I think 4 responses. The rest just kind of ignored me, which whatever, they're busy. And then this one author, SD Perry, actually, she wrote the Alien versus Predators books from the 90s, and they were actually a huge inspiration for the book. I didn't mention it earlier because there were so many inspirations for this book, but one of my characters is actually like a vaguely, or like it's almost like an homage loosely based on one of those characters, because I love those books so much. And so I asked her, I was like, could you read my book? And then she read it, and she sent me back this morning a blurb for it, and I was like so excited. It was like the best thing ever.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
it was really cool. And I actually emailed Alan Dean Foster, and he was like, no, I'm too old, I can't read this. And I'm like, okay. I was like, can I send you my book just because you're my hero? And he was like, sure. So I'm like, oh yeah, he has my copy of my book. Even though he probably recycled it, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like fangirling over Alan Dean Foster. He's like 85.
No, I mean that's really neat that he even responded. That's a big accomplishment.
I was so shocked. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I like called my husband. I'm like, guess what? He's like, what? I'm like, Alan Dean Foster emailed me back. He's like, I don't care.
That's a
We didn't
huge
say
thing.
that, but he's like, oh my God, really? What? He watches videos about cars, so I make fun of him for that. He makes fun of me for books, so that's how our
Yeah,
marriage works.
it evens out.
Exactly.
And Harfoot is here. Yes, hello and happy Friday. Happy Friday, Harfoot. Hope you're doing good. And yeah, because I always wondered how blurbs work. I mean, because you see the blurbs on certain books that this book is fantastic or whatever it is. So do you have to send them out to people to ask them to read it?
Yeah.
That's
So typically, publishers would. I know this because I'm in the industry. Publishers would send out requests to authors via, sometimes they know them, or sometimes the author actually has a an in with another author to ask them. I'm not sure how like the bigger publishers do it, but the smaller publishers is basically like almost like a cold call. Be like, hey, please. Yeah. I think the more clout you have as a publisher, you get a bit more. So, indie authors, it's a lot harder to get blurbs, I think. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
I know there's some indie authors that are so popular and so able to get these. I don't know what they're doing. So. They're great.
Yeah, I would imagine it. I mean, just to get 4 responses, that's pretty good. I would think from 10, that's pretty good.
Yeah, like they were all like no, but except for the 2, but that's fine. I mean, at least they got the email. It didn't go to their spam. So I think that's one thing, is make sure you don't include attachments, because definitely Like I included everything in the body. I made a little explanation about why I'm approaching them. So I didn't just approach authors in the same genre. I approached authors that I actually read their books and I really liked their work. And I said, hey, I love your work. I think you would like it because it has these elements. And then I said, here's a synopsis and I'll send you a free copy. I don't have any time stipulations. Read it in 2 years. I don't care. But yeah. And then I included a little picture at the bottom, embedded of the covers. Because I think my cover is really cool. So I wanted to show that it was professionally done. Shout out to my cover artist. He's great.
The cover is really great. And it was the first thing that caught my eye with the book. It's just simple and to the point.
You should have seen this concept sketch I sent him. He was probably like, oh my God. It was literally like a box with a little tiny box. He was like, okay, I can work with that. And then what's cool is that books 2 and 3, that ship, the big ship, is in each one, but it's like slightly smaller and there's more details added that have to deal with the other 2 stories. And the second book's actually my favorite cover. It's so beautiful. He has this beautiful nebula in the background. It's really nice. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So what surprised you about self-publishing? What was the most surprising thing for you?
I'm trying to think because it feels like it was so long ago when I first published this is my other one. I have it here, of course. It looks like that. So I think I just expected a bit more response to it. I don't know what I was thinking. I was new to it. And what surprised me overall is that you do have to put a lot of work into marketing. It's a huge learning curve as well, like things about the industry that you don't even know, things that don't apply to self-publishing that do apply to traditional publishing, things like that. It's really complex that people think, oh, you just publish a book and throw it out there. It's like, no, there's so many more things about it. And I approach it more as a hobby rather than like a intended career. So I don't get too worked up when I don't, make sales and stuff like that. But I can see if someone's trying to do it, like they want to do this as a career, it would be really hard and sometimes crushing because there's so much out there. There's so much in the marketplace, so much good stuff and so much, not as good stuff depending on your, the perspective of the book,
So how do you stand out? I mean, with so many books being published, it must be difficult to stand out or to get eyes on the book.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I had some advice for people. I guess it's just like don't like spam people like in their messages. Be like, read my book. Like try to if you're going to ask people to read your book, explain to them kind of why maybe they want to, and do offer them free copies, even if it's ebooks. I know not everybody's rich and can mail out copies all over the place. I had like a very strict number that I could send out before I was like, oh, I'm spending too much here. I guess, yeah, and be active on social media and stuff like that, but be genuine about it. Like, enjoy it. If you hate being on Twitter, don't be on Twitter. I only go on Twitter a couple times a week because sometimes it drives me crazy because people down there like to whine a lot. Yeah. But I love Instagram. So I love posting just pictures of books and talking to people on the book community there. Like, I probably only post my own stuff on there maybe like once a month. I'm more into just like talking about books because I love books and stuff. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people talk about Instagram lately with like Bookstagram, I guess they call it. So I've been tempted to jump on, but I don't know. I've been resisting for a while. I'm gonna have to give in.
I was against it too at first because I was like, oh, it's just for people that want to post about fashion, and that's nothing I know anything about. But I don't know why I thought that. But no, I went on it and I found it's a really fun, very like open community of people that just like to post books. I mean, and if you follow in the right kind of people and the right hashtags that you're interested in, you get a lot of interesting content. I found tons of books on there, both indie books and traditional published books that I wouldn't have found on my own through there because people post pictures and they post, their reactions and stuff. And you can save it. So I save it into a little folder that's called like TBR, and I'll go in there. And I don't know. It definitely is something that I can understand why people don't like it, but I like it. It's fine.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people talk about how good it is. So maybe I'll have to check it out.
I like it better than Book Twitter. No offense to Book Twitter, but
they're going to come with pitchforks.
I know. They're going to send me a bunch of hateful messages and I'll just be like, oh, whatever. I'm too old. I don't care.
Yeah, I know. They're okay. There's a couple of pockets there that are pretty positive. And
yeah.
But of course, if you step out, then there's a lot of negativity. So
yeah, I kind of stay within Book Twitter. I don't really definitely don't branch out to like political Twitter because then you're like, I'm so angry. Yeah. For no reason.
Yeah. I'm going to yell at this cloud until things change. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, nothing's going to change that way. Do you have any writing resources you would recommend to someone who's writing?
I know it's hard because I don't want to sound like privileged, but I really think that writing classes do help because I know they're expensive and I know not everyone has the time to do that. But like if you do like an online course that's like, 1 semester for a couple $100, they're really helpful. Like how I managed to get into my graduate certificate in creative writing was through a smaller publishing program at a different college. So I was in this 1 semester, and I was talking to the teacher, and I said, should I keep going with these courses or should I do this? I don't know what to do here, all this stuff. And she's like, you know what? I think you should apply for this program at this other college. I don't know if she was supposed to say that, but anyway, but I did, and that really helped. I was paired with a mentor in who is a Canadian author, and she really helped me with my first book, helped me with the book itself, but also like my own writing and how do I approach things and things that kind of more nuances to writing. I just found it really invaluable, but maybe it's because I had such a great mentor. I know people in the same program that didn't have as great an experience because they didn't really pair well with their mentor. So it's hit or miss, but I found that classes really worked for me. I think I've taken, aside from the graduate certificate, like 2 or 3 kind of writing classes. Not extensive ones. Like I don't have like degrees in writing other than my English degree from university, but like specifically devoted to writing, I think we've taken 3. Yeah. Sorry, that was long.
No, that's good. That's good advice. And Crystal, same. I enjoy Instagram a lot.
Yay.
Yeah, more Instagram fans. And our friend Josh is here. I tried to sign up for Instagram, but I tried to get into my account before it was approved, so I got blocked for violating community guidelines. I guess social media really isn't for me.
Oh no. Yeah, if you follow too many people at once, or if you like do all the stuff, you can get like blocked on Instagram. And I'm like, I don't do that. Enough of that to get blocked. Not yet, anyway.
What a pain, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes it's a big pain.
Yeah, I've heard that happen to a couple people that they got locked out of their account for some reason. It's kind of strange. And how do you, or what is your creative process when you start writing?
Well, before I had kids, I'd say to my partner, because we've been together for like 15 years, I say, you go out with your friends or go in the garage. Because if I send them in the garage, they'll be out there for, 8 hours doing, I don't know, working on something. And I come out, it looks exactly the same. But, and then I would sit on the couch and I'd have my little writing computer and I would just write for like 4 hours or something. I'd usually have like a coffee or a can of pop or something, sometimes beer, and just kind of right away, just keep going. But now that I have kids, it's like, okay, Wednesday night is project night. They go to bed from 7 till 9:30. I write. So it's like a forced thing now where I have to force myself to find time. But before, when I had more time, it was like I waited until I was like in the creative mindset. I was like, I'm in the mood to write today. And that's when I would tell them to go away. So now it's like, okay, I'm always in the mood because I never have time.
Yeah, it's tough finding
Kids.
time. Yeah, they'll do that.
Exactly.
And
they're worth it.
you mentioned, oh yeah, of course, but things do get a lot more complicated that way. But
yeah, when they get a bit older, I mean, I'm hoping that they'll go start having birthday parties where they leave the house for some standard length of time
so you can
on Saturday afternoons.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Get some peace and quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you did mention recently about you used to love to play video games, but you obviously don't have that much time anymore to play them. What games did you like playing when you did play?
Fallout. Fallout, Mass Effect. There's a good Mass Effect kind of vibe to Escaping First Contact as well. Minecraft. I still love Minecraft. Anything kind of Fallout-esque kind of first-person shooter RPG, kind of like that, where you have characters that travel through a world and that are kind of open-ended. That's the kind of world that I like, but also has a structure, and it needs to have a map, because if there's no map, I get completely lost and I get frustrated and I stop. And I could never play anything that was too hard, like what was it, Dark Souls or whatever, that required like critical hits on everything. I can never do that. But mainly, I've played Fallout 3 and New Vegas and 4 like a million times. And I used to play, when I was younger, I used to play Warcraft. Yeah. Now when I play games, it's mainly just Minecraft, because it's like I have half an hour. I'm like, oh, I can just relax.
Yeah. Something quick and easy that you can jump in and jump out with.
Exactly, yeah. I could do that with Fallout as well, because I know all the plots and all the how to play kind of like just from memory, so I don't have to relearn it. And Halo, I liked Halo 2 as well. Not just Halo 2. I'm not that old, though I guess I'm kind of that old.
Something that made me feel old recently was Skyrim had its was it its 10th anniversary?
I love the
Yeah.
Skyrim as well.
Yeah,
That
they got
10
me with their
already.
anniversary. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have a 17-year-old brother, and he yeah, so he would have been 7 when that came out, and so that just always putting things into kind of comparing to his age always just makes me feel so old. We're
So,
19 years apart, so
yeah, I didn't realize it had been 10 years and they have this new anniversary edition. Of course, everyone in the household bought it because we're all addicted to it. So,
mhm.
we're all fishing, because we can fish now and it's a bunch of useless crap, but we're suckers.
Fun
So,
stuff.
yeah. You have a fish tank and, all kinds of weird stuff. But
Oh, now I have to get
I know,
it.
it's like I couldn't even say no to it. It's just the
Yeah, I've been
Bethesda.
resisting the Mass Effect Legendary just because it was so expensive, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna get to play it yet. So like, I'll wait until it gets really cheap, and then I'll get it
Yeah,
because then it feels worth it to me.
I try and do that too. I'll try and avoid it until it's, because I know if I get it, I won't have time for it. So I'll try and wait and then, but
Yeah, I
never really
usually
happens that
cave.
way. Yeah, I usually cave too. Do you have any favorite authors? Like you
Oh,
mentioned a couple of them, but
so many. From the top of my head, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna forget like my favorite ones, but I definitely love Jeff Vandermeer, and I definitely love Jane Austen, which is a
Hmm.
random thing. I love Hemingway. Uh, oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, Tanya Huff, who writes these military sci-fis. I love her. She's great. I'm gonna look at my shelf now just so I don't forget anybody. Oh, Cameron Hurley for sure. Stephen King, and I'm gonna forget a whole bunch, but and Alan Dean Foster, as I said. I'm writing like probably 5, but Sarah Waters, who writes historical fiction. I like her as well. Uh, it's so hard because I read so much that I don't get a chance to like I don't have any like insta buy authors really. I'll just like wait
Hmm.
until it goes to the library unless someone buys it me for Christmas because I just have so much to read. But no, those are the ones at the top of my head I could say that I have at least 2 or 3 of their books.
It can get overwhelming with all the stuff to read.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've got stacks and
Yeah.
stacks, and I've got a filing cabinet. Oh, I think you can see it back there, and like all those books on there, like just like my TBR like coming up, not my whole TBR shelf. So
And not to mention the digital copies too, right? Because you're a NetGalley, right?
yeah, I have I
Yeah.
think 9 arcs that I've been accepted for starting in 2022. So I've got like them all within the first 3 or 4 months, and I'm auto approved for Angry Robot, which makes me so happy because I pretty much love everything that they produce. I'm always emailing their like media lady, being like, "Are you putting this out on NetGalley?" And she's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay." She's probably sick of me.
So what are your thoughts on reviews on sites like NetGalley? Is it fun for you or does it become is it easy to get overwhelmed with all the different reviews?
I like it. I'm very like I'm very structured with it. Like I only accept a couple reviews a month. So if I like, unless I really, really want a book, usually though, that it's coming. So I kind of like plan for when that's coming out. I don't accept more than like 2 per month because I also want to be able to read physical copies because I do prefer physical copy to ebook. And, if something also falls in my lap or I'm in a couple, like book clubs on Discord as well. So I have to read their books too. So I try really hard not to like just accept everything on NetGalley. And I know that certain publishers, especially smaller publishers, if they see that your feedback ratio isn't above like 70, they'll probably just decline you because they think you're not going to post a review. And for smaller like indie publishers especially, that only release 4 or 5 titles a year, they want to make sure people are taking their copies that are actually going to provide them a review because they need those for like their stats and for their marketing and stuff. I mean, the big 5 need those too, but they have way more resources.
Yeah, they can take chances with it that indie
Exactly,
publishers
yeah.
can't. Yeah.
NetGalley's not
Yeah.
cheap either. It's like 500 US or something.
Hmm.
So it's not like it's a cheap thing to put your book on. They have sales sometimes. And if you're part of IBPA, which is like Independent Book Publishers of America or Association, I can't remember, they have deals and stuff too. But like you have to pay
Hmm.
to be part of that. So is it worth it if you're like a small publisher or like an indie author? I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that. So if you wanted to put your book on NetGalley, it would cost there would be a fee up front that you would have
Hmm.
to pay for NetGalley to take it and then release it or
Yeah.
to find reviewers.
Well, you can pay, there's two ways. So you can, I don't know, actually, I don't know if this is for the general public, but I think if you're a small publisher, you can pay a slightly less amount and then they will do all the back end for you. They basically just approve everybody then. But if you want to manage who you're approving because you want people that actually are reading in your genre or people that don't, that actually, looks like they actually review things, they don't just take the books, then you can you can control it yourself. It's
Hmm.
a pretty robust platform. I've been on the other side of it too, like in the publishing side. So it's pretty cool. I like it. I think
Oh, wow.
I get their newsletter obviously, and I think they said they sold like 1 million copies were reviewed or something last year, or maybe more. Maybe it was 3 million. I can't remember.
Wow. That's a
Yeah,
crazy amount of books. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I think a lot of I don't even know how many the big ones get, but indie ones get 150 to 200 requests for reviews. I think per book. It depends though, obviously, on the genre and the publisher, etc.
Wow. That's a lot of reviews. I never realized how that worked. I never really thought of it that way, but it makes sense that they have to charge some kind of fee, but I wonder if it's worth it for smaller author or indie authors or indie publishers.
I don't know. I personally don't think I would pay $500 for it unless I already had like a pretty big platform as an author. But I've
Mhm.
seen indie publishers with their first books use NetGalley because I've found a couple on there and I read their books and reviewed them, and so it worked for them. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a gamble or what. It's something I think that people can look into. But again, it could be a waste of money if you put it on there and no one's interested. But I guess people should, as with everything, do your research, see if it would be
Yeah.
worth it. Their contact us people are pretty good too. Like they'll get back to you and talk to you about it and stuff. So you could always ask them if it's worth it. And I mean, I'm not sure if they'll tell you, the best stuff just because they want you to do it, or who knows.
Yeah. Of course it's worth it. Give us your money.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if they're like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just kidding, that Kelly. Don't be mad.
No, no, no. I love NetGalley.
Yeah.
Don't cancel my account,
I know. I'm just
please.
yeah, no. Your kind of has been deleted right after this stream. Yeah.
I would die. I have so many awesome books next year.
Hey Ashley, glad you can make it. Hope you're having a good Friday. Good, thanks for dropping in. And I would imagine as if I was an indie author and I was like a newer author or somebody who isn't too well known, and there might be some concern for me that if I do put out a NetGalley and it has bad reviews, then it would um, if it got if it was reviewed by people who weren't in the genre, or it just wasn't the right fit, that could negatively impact the book, because it can be kind of dead on arrival, I guess. With it may not be the target audience, so that would be, if I were, that would be a concern for me. But I'm not sure if that is true or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends too on what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, obviously everybody's trying to sell their books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess it depends on your circumstances because yeah, I think every indie author is different. Every indie author has a different story and perspective. Story meaning like their writing story, not their physical book. Obviously, they're all different. But sorry, I'm tired.
It's okay. It's the end of the week. It's been one of those weeks this week.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy all of your reviews on your channel. So
Thank you.
I was wondering, what is it like when you review a book, now that you're, because you're an author and a reviewer? So do you try and put that same reviewer hat on when you read your own book? Is it hard to kind of break that connection with the material and put on your editing hat?
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. That is a really good question. Yeah, I try to look at it from like, is this too stupid? Like this joke, or does this make sense? Uh, it's hard. I guess it is. Self-editing is important. I think definitely important. I think you have to like it's how you grow and you learn from your mistakes. But I definitely, my book is way better because my editor went through it and pointed stuff out and told me when I was using passive voice, which was a lot, and picking up on things you do a lot, because I think every author does this. They have words or phrases they use all the time, and for me, my characters are always exchanging glances. They're always exchanging glances with one another, and she's like, "Can people just not look at each other every 5 minutes. And I'm like, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think the thing is though, when she tells me this stuff, then I pick up on it in my writing when I write, more stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm using this too much. And I think that every time you write a book, you get better. And I think that's why people's debuts tend to be rougher, even if they are, fully edited and stuff, because they're still honing their craft. Like if you read Stephen King's oldest stuff, it's still good because it's Stephen King, but you can tell the difference between his stuff, his first books and then, stuff now or stuff. I haven't read a new Stephen King book in forever though.
Yeah, I've heard good and bad things about his newer books.
Yeah, I
But
tend to stick to more of the classics like The Shining and Misery and all those. The stuff I read when I was way too young, like when I was 12.
I hear that a lot. That's what a lot of people say, that they read Stephen King when they were too young. It's kind of funny.
I remember the first book I
yeah.
read that was for adults when I was a kid, and I think I was like 11 or 10, and it was Jurassic Park. And I had this little piece of paper, it was like a little cardboard piece of paper, where I kept a tally of all the swear words. Like that's how young I was. The swear words made me laugh. So I'd be like, oh, the F word. I even had like one for damn. I'm like, that's how young I was. And then that was my bookmark. I don't know why I did that. Whatever, I was a child.
We do a lot of crazy things when we were kids. I get
Yeah.
easily amused, but that's part of the fun. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
we were all there.
Definitely
Yeah.
stuff I read back then that I read now. I'm like, wow, I read that when I was 11. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even pick up on that. Like, there's a lot of stuff in The Shining that was like totally inappropriate, like sexual wise, that I didn't even pick up on when I was a child. I'm like, oh my God, I read that back then.
And
Oh well.
Mr. Morningstar said that weekend has arrived. Hello, friends. Hello, Mr. Morningstar. Thanks for coming by. And Ashley says, strangers in the night exchanging glances.
Basically.
Yeah, that's funny. So is it weird to work so hard on this? Always makes me curious, is because you put so much work and time into a book, and then you give it to an editor, and they kind of, like, it's their job to be critical. But is it weird to have someone come back and say, well, this isn't good and that isn't good, and is it, because do you get protective over your book and say, well, no, I like that, or I don't want to change this, or I don't want to change that?
It's funny because it depends on the editor, because some editors are like, it just depends on the context. Because like my editor, she's great because she's, to me, like she's really tough. But my mentor was way tougher and way harsher with me. And at first I was just like, oh, okay, I'm terrible. But then I was like, no, she's trying to help me. I'm not terrible. It really is a hit to your ego though. Like I'm an editor as well. So I edit people's books, like freelance. And yeah, there's been times when I've had like a client not like my edits because they disagreed with them, and I'm like, that's fine, it's your book, you don't have to accept everything. These are just things that I'm pointing out from my perspective, from what I know, and certain things are grammatical, certain things I'm just pointing out. Like I had one guy that had this book and there was one female character in the entire book, and I was like, just saying, recommending, maybe make this one character also a woman. Just saying, it is 2021. You don't have to, it's your book, but I'm like saying, female, women do read the genre that you're writing in. So maybe, don't ostracize half your readers by not having anyone they can kind of relate to. And that author was fine with it. But then I had another one that got mad when I, recommended they cut a line that was repetitive, So it depends on as well, because sometimes you get really tied to your sentences. You're like, but I liked that one, it was so beautiful. And then you're like, yeah, though it is kind of lame, I guess. Or you just leave it in because it's your book, you can leave it in if you want to.
Yeah, I guess it's ultimately up to you which one to leave in. But Ashley said, my first Stephen King was Cell and I was a tween. Yeah, it's
I remember
Jurassic,
that one. Yeah,
the Cell. I haven't read that one.
Yeah, I read it a long time ago. I can't remember the ending. I just remember the start. The start was really good, where everyone started just like freaking out, like they had their phones up their heads and they'd start like going crazy and like attacking everybody. I don't remember the rest of it though. I remember the starting. It was really good.
I think you touched on this earlier, but Ashley asks, are you a plotter or a pantser?
So I think I'm a pantser at heart, but I definitely plotted this particular trilogy. And the project I'm working on next, I'm definitely plotting because my husband and I are kind of working on it together. So we're going to plan out the plot, and then I'm going to fill in the writing. So he's obsessed with 80s horror movies, and so that means I also watch a lot of them. And so we're going to attempt to do like a horror novel together about a family and there's a ghost, and typical kind of story, but we've got some ways to kind of bring some interesting twists into it because we watch so many horror movies and read so many horror books that, well, we think it'll be fun. It'll be a fun project either way, just to see if we, can do it. If he, gets along with me.
Yeah. So how did that come to be? Did you convince him to? Was it an idea you both kind of collaborated on, or how did that come to pass?
It was actually my daughter. So she's 4 now, but when she was 3, she kept talking about this person in our house, and we're like, this is just a weird toddler thing, right? And she'd be like, oh yeah, they're upstairs. And I'm like, what do they look like? And then she told me, she's like, oh, she's a woman with long black hair and long sleeves and big teeth. And I was like, oh my God. And then one time she said, oh yeah, she lives in the shed. I'm like, she lives in the shed. And then across the street from us, our neighbor, the ambulance showed up like the next day. And after we tore down our shed. So I was like, oh my God, she got mad. We tore down our house and missed our house and got to him. And he's fine. Like, I wouldn't joke if he'd actually been hurt. But and so I was like, this would be a really interesting story, and then we were talking about it. I'm like, we could do this. I'm like, you could help me plot it and like make it scary enough, and I could do the writing, and like, so it'll be fun. We'll see how long it takes, but that's kind of my next project, and so it'll be kind of cool.
That sounds like a lot of fun. That's cool that you and your husband are collaborating. That's a way for you to connect and spend time together, and it's your passion. So that's really neat that you're working on that together.
And he's not a reader, really. He's read like one of my books. I can't get him to be a beta reader because he reads too slow. But he's read like Christine like 50 times. So he's he reads one book like 1,000 times. That's his type of reading. So he definitely does not have a Goodreads, yearly goals.
Yeah. One. Yeah.
Yes, basically.
Cool, yeah.
Which is fine, yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're reading something.
Yeah.
Plagued by Vision says, can't stay long, but just wanted to say hello. Thanks, Swan, for dropping by. Hope you're having a good week. I think he has a paper cuts tonight he has to go to. He's going to be late. He doesn't. Yeah. So what 80s horror movies do you enjoy watching with your husband?
Oh, the campier ones, the better, like ones you've never heard of, or probably. But like, like ones like Critters, like with the really scary like animation, like the animatronics. Oh God, I can't think of any of the titles now. There's one called Street Trash, which is terrible. But like basically, the poorer the quality, the more we find it funny. But then you find some really scary hidden gems in there. Like you would think based on the remakes, like Piranha would be really dumb, but Piranha is a really good old 80s movie. I think it's actually from the 70s. Chud, CHUD. What is it? I can't remember what it stands for. Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers or something like that is a really good movie. It's really entertaining because you don't know where it's going, and it's really interesting. There's one called Slugs that is quite funny. Sorry, I could go on and on about these ridiculous movies. I love like Galaxy of Terror as well, like ones like that. So we watch a lot of this nonsense. People are like, have you watched this new show? I'm like, no, I was busy watching Chud.
Yeah. Well, Chud is great. Yeah, it's 1984.
Oh, you know it! Yay!
Yeah. Oh no, I looked it up. I
was gonna say, I was like, really? It's funny because we were playing that game Balderdash one time. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like a game where you like make up scenarios. It's whatever. My friends and I play this all the time, and that was one of the options. So it gave you the acronym, and you had to guess what it stood for. And both he and I got it 100% right. And they were like, "How did you know that?" We're like, "Because we've seen this movie." Anyway, not here to talk about Chud.
No, it's cool. It's I'm gonna have to watch it now just because I'm so curious about weird 80s
if you don't hate it.
Yeah. Sometimes the movie, those campy 80s movies are just fun, just dumb fun.
Basically.
I think the difference is if you go into it thinking this is gonna be it's gonna change my life kind of movie, it's not gonna work out very well.
Exactly. We go into like waiting for like the scenes, like for example in the movie Slugs, one man a slug is like biting his hand, so he cuts off his hand with an axe, and then all of a sudden, for no reason, his greenhouse explodes. And we're like, what? Why? Like that's the kind of stuff I live for. Yeah.
It explodes.
Yeah.
So is your book gonna have kind of campy scenes like that, or will it be more serious?
No. It doesn't have unbelievable scenes like that. It does have some campy kind of silly jokes in it and stuff like that, but it's mainly it's more it I think the beauty of space opera is that you don't need to be super correct about the science, but you can make it realistic and believable at the same time. So like I would do research on the basics, like for example, like how things work in zero gravity and how ships accelerate and things like that. But then, I would kind of, make it a bit flexible just to make the story more interesting, as most, space opera movies do. Like for example, in Star Wars, you don't really know how the hyperdrive works. You just accept that it works. So kind of,
Yeah.
which is the difference, I guess, between space opera and hard sci-fi. I would never try to write a hard sci-fi. I'm too lazy to do the research into that to make it too precise.
Could you just make it up as you go? I mean, because it's your work. I mean, couldn't you do that if you wanted
Yeah.
like hard sci-fi? Could you just make your own rules and?
I think you could, but I think if you market it as a hard sci-fi, you have the people that actually know what they're talking about will come on and be like, that doesn't make sense. Gravity doesn't work that way, blah, 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 blah. There's a book right now called The Apollo Murders. I'm reading it, or I'm listening to an audiobook by Chris Hadfield, who's like a Canadian astronaut. And so he's been in space and he wrote this, kind of thriller about being in space. And I'm so interested to get to the parts where he talks about that because he actually knows what he's talking about because he's been up there. So I found that really fascinating.
If
Is it
anyone
the
knows,
Apollo
he'll know, right?
murders? I think so. Sorry.
Harfoot says, "Chud, now I feel old. I saw it on VHS in the early '90s."
Yes, someone's seen it.
Yeah. No, I have to watch it. Yeah, no, I have to
Yes.
check it out.
And
Yeah, we
slugs.
were just and slugs too. Yeah, and we were talking earlier. Harfoot and I we were he was posting the forums about Lord of the Rings having its 20th anniversary.
Oh, the movies. Oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
realize
I
it's
remember
been so
seeing those in
long.
theaters with my dad when I was like a teenager. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's been a while. I didn't realize it's been that long, but yeah, I thought about it. It took me a minute to think. It was like, oh, it has been 20 years. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean the quality of the movies, like the special effects and stuff, were so good that it's hard to forget. Yeah, you forget that it's from so long ago.
Yeah, it is.
Because
It is
other movies
very.
from
It is
20 years
very.
ago, you're like, oh
Yeah.
God.
Another movie that really holds up is Jurassic Park. I mean, you mentioned reading it earlier, but it still holds up even now.
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
It is my absolute favorite movie. I have 3 copies of the book, and I have the movie on VHS and DVD and Blu-ray. I watch it at least a couple times a year. We have a laminated poster on wood in my basement. I actually had a Jurassic Park themed wedding, so yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park themed wedding. Wow,
Well, I
that's
mean, we
cool.
had like little dinosaurs as the centerpieces, so people were like playing with them during the speeches and stuff. And we had like a stencil with our names, so it had the T-Rex, skeleton, but then it had Tina and Rob at the bottom instead of
Oh, that's
Jurassic
cool.
Park. And we walked in to our like reception to the theme song. So that was kind of the extent of it. Oh yeah, and then we had like the cake toppers were like a T-Rex and a Velociraptor. So yeah, just little things like that. Yeah, I think that was it. I don't remember. That was a while
That's
ago.
pretty
That
cool.
was almost
Yeah.
8 years ago too.
Did you see the movie together, or was it like a movie you watched together? Or?
No, I mean came out what 93, so I was 8. I
Oh,
think I first saw
yeah.
the movie when I was 12 or 13 or so. But no, we just my husband actually met in high school, and so it was just like, yeah, it was a movie we watched a lot. We just both really liked the movie. We have, as clearly with Chud, we have similar taste in like movies. So we're one of those weird couples that rarely watches shows and movies apart. Like we watch, I'd say 95% of our shows and movies together. So there's just a rare few things. Like he won't watch Pride and Prejudice with me. That's my movie I watch when I'm sick. And I won't watch like Ross Valley Restorers or whatever car show he likes to watch. He can watch that on his own.
Oh yeah, it was just, yeah. My wife and I are like that too. We don't want it. We'll end up waiting for each other. Like, well, I'll wait for you to watch it, and then we wait for however long to watch it together because
Yeah, we
can't
do that
watch it
for
without
sure.
each other.
Yeah, like I won't be watching like the Book of Boba Fett without him. Like we'll watch that together.
Yeah, it's like an event, like way to spend time together.
Yeah.
Harfoot says Jurassic Park is the greatest cat and mouse film of all time. People are the mice.
I love that.
Pretty much, yeah. And I always wondered with your YouTube channel, you reviewed a lot of older books, and I wondered how do you choose which books to review because there's so many to choose from.
I basically those ones that go by feel. I'm like, this sounds interesting, or I'm like, oh, I have like I reviewed Hyperion. I mean, that's not that old, but I reviewed that one because I knew there was a show or a movie coming out soon. So I was like, you know what, I should do it now. And then because I knew there was more in the series, so I'm like, then I can read more of them. But usually I'm just like, I have a whole stack, probably about 500 of these old sci-fis. I'm obsessed with buying them. If I go to a used bookstore, I can't reach them because my phone is all like plugged in. But I have like a whole bunch of these old mass market paperbacks you can get for like 50 cents or $1, and I buy them like solely based on the cover. So if it has like a weird creature on it or something bizarre, I'm like, that looks awesome. And then sometimes they end up being classics. Like there's one called Armada that I didn't realize was like really popular back in the day. And same with City by Clifford Seamack. I just reviewed that one a couple months ago, and that one I didn't realize was so popular. So I try to find like the hidden gems. So I'm like, this one looks cool. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, that was terrible. And then sometimes like, no, actually, that was a hidden gem. That was one that I love. There's one I really love called The Rehumanization of Jade Darcy. Or is that series? I don't know. Anyway, her name's Jade Darcy in the character. And that one was just like instantly fell in love with that one. It was about this female bounty hunter or assassin woman. It was cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And my wife is here. She said Stevie even suffers through 90 Day Fiancé with me, so I don't have to watch it alone.
Aww, that's so nice.
We do watch that together. And I constantly just make fun of everyone in the show. But it's fun.
Yeah, I forced my husband to watch the Canadian baking show with me, or like Master Chef with me, because he's not super into those. But those are the ones that I like. He's like, really, baking show? I'm like, I'll make these things someday.
Someday.
Yeah.
Those cooking shows are strangely addictive.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Even if you don't like baking, like they're fun to watch.
I mean, I can screw up a bowl of cereal, but I like to watch baking. Just people cook stuff. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's kind of relaxing. It's like artistic. Even if they're like stressed out, it's like neat to watch them turn nothing to something like beautiful. I think it's like art, I think. Yeah.
Like Chopped is one of those shows I can watch for a while, and
yeah,
it's like you have 10 minutes to make something out of these ingredients, out of these really weird ingredients, and they produce something that's delicious, I'm assuming. So
yeah. Hopefully anyway for the judges.
Like, this is crap. Yeah, but no, it's not. It looks good. So yeah. Do you script your reviews when you record them, or what's your process for your reviews?
It depends on the review. So if I'm doing like one of those old school science fictions where I'm actually like trying to argue a point, I will have some scripts, because people get mad at you if you like, talk about Dune and say that you don't like one particular line from the whole book. Oh, yeah. And then they get all mad. But I knew that. I'm like, if I talk about this in Dune, people are going to be like, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so I script those just because I want to sound more coherent. And then, but certain ones like that I really love, I tend to kind of go off script, or I'll have just bullet points. Be like, don't forget to talk about this person or this setting or this scene. Sometimes because a lot of the times, like if I make a joke or something that is kind of off the cuff, rarely do I like script like a joke. Not like I make a ton of jokes, but usually it's just me making a stupid comment, and I'm like, I'll just leave it in. Or I like make fun of myself with a comment at the top, like with the words at the top, like strange. I don't care.
You notice all this weird stuff about yourself when you go and edit your videos. It just like all these weird sounds you make, and do I sound like that?
Or like cutting out all the knows. I say that a lot. I used to do the and now it's and I'm like, oh. cut.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dune. Did you enjoy the movie?
I loved the movie. I mean, it wasn't my favorite movie of all time. I mean, obviously that's Jurassic Park, but I thought it was really artistic, and I really liked the sets were really cool, because I thought there were a cool juxtaposition between like a new take, but also they had a lot of hints I found to like the 80s film, like the Lynch film. So I really Dune was a big part of my growing up as well, because my dad is obsessed with Dune. He's read the whole series like 10 times. And so he would watch the movie all the time. And I would tease him. I'm like, you're just watching this because of Sting. And he's like, shut up. But yeah, so I watched that a lot as a teenager as well. And I really liked the new film. I really liked it. I'm curious to see what they do in the second part. If they're going to kind of switch it up at all, or if they're going to show more of the battle, because in the book we don't get a lot of it. It kind of glides over it at the end, I found. So
Yeah, the only frustrating thing about it is that movies take so long to make that we have to wait for like years to see it. That's what's frustrating about it.
Yeah, and big artsy ones like that too, where they put a lot of time into like the sets and like the acting and everything. Like, so I don't mind. I'm like, oh, good, I can save up and be like, okay, this is the movie I'm picking for date night without the kids.
Yeah. Just make a chud version of Dune and get it out
Oh
in
my
6
God,
months.
Chud version of Dune.
Get it out quick.
Oh my God, I'd watch
And
it.
oh yeah. Well, how can you not watch it? But yeah. And I was wondering with a lot of authors listen to music while they write. Do you listen to music while you write?
Not usually. Sometimes if I have like a long stretch, I'll put on like ambient, not ambient, but like kind of like non-lyrics music. I'm trying to think of what the bands are called. Like This Will Destroy You, like kind of bands
Hmm.
like that, like kind of I don't even know, like progressive rock, kind of new progressive rock. I don't even know. I like music, but I'm like not really up on the music scene, so I don't know the right lingo for this kind of stuff. But that's the kind of stuff I
Yeah.
tend to listen to because I want to have, if I want to have background noise, but usually I'm just like dead silence. It's usually just
Hmm.
my dog like coughing in the background. My pug, he can barely breathe, so he's just like all the time. That's my music. My baby monitor just going.
Yeah. Yeah. The we have a pug and a bulldog and a pug mix, so we have constant snorting in the house.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I remember from
someone's
one of your videos. Yeah, you had the dog, and I was like,
yeah. They're cute, but they're stubborn.
and they're loud. Yeah, my
They're
pug
loud.
is so stubborn. He got his eye taken out by my other dog because he wouldn't give up.
Oh,
He wouldn't give up in a fight. It was
oh
terrifying.
no.
Yeah, oh yeah, they used to fight so much, like constantly, and it was so stressful. Like we almost were at the point where we were gonna kind of send the big dog to like a farm or something, like to someone else because we couldn't handle it anymore. But then that happened, and that stopped it for a while. And then we realized, learned some tricks, to separate them at times and watch for their cues when they're aggressive with one another. And now they're really old. Like, the pug's 12 and he doesn't care anymore. He can't even see anymore or hear. So he doesn't know what's going on. And the big ones calm down a lot. So, but it was very stressful for a while. And I think anyone that has two dogs, has had them fight at least once, usually. I don't know if your dogs fight at all, but
Oh yeah.
yeah.
We have a Shih Tzu that's 13 years old,
Oh, geez.
and he just hates the world. He tries to kill everyone, even our bigger dogs. But thankfully, the bigger dogs haven't just killed him yet. So, but he
Yeah.
tries to get killed every day. That's the joke around the house is, Nash tried to kill himself again today. He's attacking all the big dogs. But
Yeah, that was like my pug. He would just try to fight my big dog all the time, just constantly. I'd come home and there'd be like blood on the wall, and I'm like looking at Denny, and he's got like a bloody nose, and I'm like, Rouge's just sitting there fine, and I'm like, well, Denny, really? He's Shepherd Mastiff. He's 90 pounds. Like you can't win. So
they are stubborn for sure.
yeah, definitely.
I can't remember. Have you read the Expanse series? The
So I've read the first
or
one. When
okay.
it first came out, my library had it, and I read it, and I loved it. I loved it. I actually have it back there on my shelf, but I didn't read the other ones because I was like, what if a series doesn't have books out yet, you kind of forget about it. That's what happened with The Expanse to me. I just like never got around to reading the other ones. And then the show came out, and so I started watching the show. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish season 6 of the show, and then I'm going to start reading book 7 because I heard book 7 takes place 28 years after book 6. So that
Hmm.
story is not like, so at least I'll know kind of the gist of what happened, and then I can like start read the last 4. I actually write reviews. So I write for this postapocalypmedia.com, which is a website,
Hmm.
obviously, that does post-apocalyptic stuff. And so I'm covering The Expanse, actually. So after this, I'm going to have to watch The Expanse and then write an article about it tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's pretty fun. It's like a fun side job. It's not really a job. It's volunteer, but I really like doing it. So
That's cool though.
yeah.
And our friend David Wiley's here. He says, Tina,
Hi, David.
hope you're having a good week, David. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, we were at a used bookstore not long ago, and I was going to grab the books, and I noticed that on the little tag underneath the books it says local author. It's like I didn't know he lived here.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I thought maybe I should. Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't care about me, but maybe I'll try and contact him one day.
They're a pair, I think. That's a pseudonym for 2 guys, I think.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure. Yes. I should know this given I wrote about it for the website, but I could be conflating it with somebody else. No, I'm pretty sure that they're two people, and it's like two guys, and they like use a pseudonym together. Um, I think their Twitter page, like their Twitter, explains that and has their like different names. So there's a lead for you.
Oh, yeah, I have to check that out. Maybe one of them lets you know.
Maybe
Get in touch with one of them. Yeah,
that'd be so cool.
That'd be kind of neat. Yeah, that would be cool. But the odds are really slim. But you never know.
Ask them to read my book if you talk to them.
Yeah, I'll give them a copy of your book if I talk to them. So here, we need a blurb. Tina needs a blurb.
Oh my god.
And David says, always here to support my two favorites on YouTube.
Oh.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah, David's a really, really nice guy.
I know, really he's so nice.
Really yeah. So I try to finish out all of my conversations with a couple of questions at the end, just a couple of fun questions. So the first one is, if the zombie apocalypse happened today, what would be your weapon of choice?
Oh, shotgun. But I'd have a knife too. You need close quarters and longer quarters. I mean, a sniper rifle would be cool too, but I don't have a sniper rifle. So in terms of things I could get an easy access to, shotgun.
Shotgun.
Yeah, we've got hunters in my family.
Yeah. Do you prefer fast or slow zombies in your, not if you're running away from them, but just in your movies or books?
Oh, I mean, fast or scarier for sure. So definitely fast, because I find it's more terrifying when they just run at you. The slow ones are fun for like, definitely fast.
Have you seen Black Summer? Now that you mentioned fast zombies on Netflix. How did you like that?
I liked the second season a lot. Well, the first season I semi-watched because I was playing something at the time, like a video game. My husband started watching it. But then I really watched the second season. I thought it was really cool that it was set in the winter. Like, that was really neat. And I thought the last episode dragged on a bit. Like, it kind of did a Walking Dead thing where they talked for too much. I'm like, hurry up. But I liked like the concepts, and I thought the fight scenes were really cool. It's hard for me not to like a zombie movie, really.
Yeah, me too. I like, even when they're crap, I like them. So it's hard for me to be critical.
I mean, Dawn of the Dead, though, I'd say is my favorite. Like the 2004 one with the mall and the bus. Yeah, I like that one.
That's a good one. I think that movie kind of revitalized the genre in a way. I think it kind of reintroduced it to, with the different zombies.
Made it scary again, I think, too, because like for a while, I think zombie movies weren't that scary. Like, I think because the special effects weren't as good, but I think he put so much effort into making them. I remember that in the director's cut one where that one runs at her and he's got like no arms, and like that like gave me nightmares for like a week, because I was like, 2004, I would have been like, I mean, I would have been like 16, but still, it still scared me.
The next question I have for you is, what was your first job?
I worked at a movie rental store. It was called Mr. Video. Mr. Video. It was owned by a couple, so it was like an independent store, and they were like my like third family. My parents divorced, so they were my third family, and I worked there for almost 7 years. So when I was just under 15 until I was 21, so all through high school and university, and I loved it there. I worked there like probably 30 hours a week, and when I wasn't working there, I was hanging out there because my friends worked there. We also sold water, like reverse osmosis water in the big jugs, and we called it Mr. Water, which everyone thought was so funny. And I'm like, it is funny. Get some water with your movies.
Did you get a lot of movies from there? That was probably a perk of working there, right?
Yeah, I got them early, so I would get them on like if they came out on Tuesday, which they all did, I would get them on, I think Friday night we would get the shipment. So Friday and Saturday night I would get all these new movies. And the owner, he was like, to customers he really liked, he'd like let them rent it early, like he would just give it to them to rent and stuff like that. But no, I was like required to watch a certain amount of them because customers would ask. They'd be like, "Is this good?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." Or customers always like, "Where's that movie with that guy in it?" And I'd actually know what they were talking about because I worked there for so long. It was always The Terminal with Tom Hanks, this movie that came out in like 2001. People were obsessed with it, but I can never remember the name of it. There were other ones, like I had a list of like small independent films that I would recommend to people too that would watch all the popular stuff. They'd watch everything and they'd be like, "I'm bored." I'm like, "Well, try that." And they'd be like, "Oh, that was really good." I'm like, "Yeah, because I've seen everything in this store." It was cool because I got exposed to a lot of obscure movies as well. And I think that's kind of where my husband and I really kind of connected, because he would come in and rent movies like Chud, and I'd be like, I've never heard of this, and then I'd watch it, and then we talk about it. So yeah, it's funny. I actually never thought about that before. But yeah, it was really,
Nice.
I miss working at the video store. It was such a nice chill job.
Yeah. Do you miss now we have streaming and you can watch instead of going to a video store, you can just a few clicks and you can watch pretty much almost whatever you want. There's a ton of content. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
miss those days when you had to kind of put some effort into it and go hunting at the video store?
I miss that you can't find the really kind of obscure titles anymore. Like you would get these like indie art house movies that you can't really, that you would never find. And I can't even think of the like Pi. Do you remember that movie? It was like black and white. It was from like the 90s. Like the movies like this, like that were really kind of artsy, weird movies. And you can't find those really on Netflix. I mean, sometimes Prime has them in like a weird section. We'll stumble across them, but I do miss kind of like rummaging through the shelves and like reading the titles. I kind of do that now. Like I'll like, after I'm done watching a movie, I'll like kind of scroll through Netflix and read the synopsises with the sound off, and it's like memories of the past. But I mean, usually when I went to the movie store, we'd rummage around for like, an hour trying to find something, and end up picking, a movie we've seen before.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
I do have fond memories of like being a kid too, and my mom would be like, "Okay, it's your turn to pick," So my sisters and I would go over, and we'd have a note saying I'm allowed to rent rated R movies, and we rent Alien or something like that. My mom was fine. She's like, as long as there's blood and guts, that's okay. But if there's any sexual content, no way. So Alien was fine, but we couldn't watch like, I don't know, something that was like PG that had like kissing. It was a bizarre kind of hypocrisy.
Yeah, it is. Those days, it was. Yes, I remember just on Friday and Saturday nights, you'd have to kind of like prepare yourself to go into the store to get what you wanted. It's like going into war. You kind of have to, get your. It's like going into battle, trying to get the video you wanted. But
Yeah, oh yeah, especially if you have siblings and they don't like the same movies as you. It's like, how many times I'd have to fight them to watch The Fifth Element when they wanted to watch like Mary Kate and Ashley because they're younger than me, and I was like, no, I don't want to watch that nonsense. Blah blah blah. I want guns in my movies. Even now, my sister's like, you should watch RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm like, I hate fashion. I will not watch that. You can't force me. I don't like dancing and fashion. Stop telling me to watch it. They'll send me clips, and I'm like, no, I don't care. Or like, should we like watch this documentary about makeup? I'm like, why would I watch that, Caitlin? That I'm like, watch it. I'm like, actually, Caitlin, don't watch this. Caitlin's like, what I like doing? I'm like, no, you'd hate it. She's like, okay.
Well, at least you know what you.
We know. We don't often watch movies together. My sister and I. My one sister and I.
Mary Kate and Ashley.
They were quite younger than me.
That must have been rough. That's still rough though. That's rough.
Yeah, I can't. My daughter. I hope she's more into like stuff that I like, but who knows?
Yeah,
I'll sit through it. I can always read when she watches her stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Good. It's good reading time.
Exactly.
So the last question I have for you, and I try to improve my kind of like my repertoire and try and get new questions. So was if roles were reversed, was there a question that you would have asked that I did not ask?
This is the question that's going to stump me. I don't think so. I'll probably think of something in like 10 minutes, like after we say goodbye. But I can't.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I can't really think of anything right now. No, I don't really have any other questions. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I try to get new questions or kind of add to my list. So, but if you think of something, let me know.
I guess maybe something like you could ask if a character was like based on somebody in a book, or if it was like based on some people, because I know some people write characters that are stand-ins for other people that they know in their real life, whether that's good or bad. I don't really do that, but I know that would be an interesting question because you might get some kind of interesting answers.
That's my ex and I hate him. Yeah, so
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
There was a guy who wrote like someone in every book that he wrote a character with the same name, and that person died in every single book in like a terrible way. But nobody knew that he was doing this. It was some random reader that picked up on it, and he never talked about it or anything like that. And they don't know like what it was about. I don't know what it's called, who it was, or the name. Someone told me this like literally the other day. So have to look that up.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll add that to my list.
Yeah.
So add that to my list of questions. So. But I want to thank you for coming by and just kind of shooting the breeze and talking about your book and hearing about your process and your
Yeah, it was
perspectives.
really
I
fun.
appreciate you taking time. Yeah,
It was
thanks for
it was
coming
nice.
by.
It was a nice highlight of my week.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Nice to
I'm
talk
glad
to
that
you.
you. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm always surprised when anyone says yes. So I'm like,
I
oh,
think authors, we like to talk about our books because most of the time our friends and family are sick of hearing about our books. So it's nice to have someone actually want to listen and ask questions about it. My poor
yeah, that's
husband, every
always good.
time I bring up my book, he's probably inside being like, I'll answer a few questions and then I'll like, because whenever he reads a chapter, I'm like, what did you like? Did you like this part? Did you pick up on that? And he's like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it
So,
was great. Yeah,
yeah.
let's watch Chud again. Yeah,
Basically, he's probably upstairs listening to me being like, what is she saying about me?
just all good stuff. All good stuff.
Yeah, all good stuff.
Yeah. So if someone wants to connect with you or find your work, and I do have all the links in the description, but if someone wanted to connect with you, where are good places to find you?
Oh, Instagram and Twitter, it's the same handle. It's TSBEIER, TS Beier. My booktube channel, Sound and Fury book reviews. I'm always posting, I think twice a week I post reviews of books or tags, things like that. You can go to my website, which is nostromopublications.com, named after the ship from Alien, of course. And I think that's it. I have a Facebook page, but I don't really use it, to be honest. I'm kind of drifting from Facebook a bit. I'm on there because like my relatives want pictures of my kids, so that's about it. I don't really post those on my book channel or book page on Facebook.
A lot of people say that they're kind of leaving Instagram, or I'm sorry, Facebook.
Yeah, I can communicate with other people. I find I talk to people more on Discord. Like I'm part of a few book channels on there, and I find I like that because I know the people that are interested in the same things I am. And I find on Facebook people, it's like you're on Facebook and you get aggressive for some reason. So people like argue all the time, even if it's like about books. They're like arguing so much. And I'm like, okay, it's too much. I just want to talk about this book specifically, not go on a rant about whatever. So.
Yeah, it's good to avoid that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Twitter. There's certain parts that it's like, okay, I'm out of here. It's like
no,
Homer
I'm done.
Simpson.
Yeah,
Homer Simpson. You can just go back in the grass. Yeah.
Yeah, just like in the hedge. Yeah.
Like, disappear.
Yeah.
Silently disappear. Yeah.
That's how I leave parties usually. French exit. Just. My friend's like, you didn't say goodbye. I'm like, I don't say goodbye. I just leave.
Yeah. I just leave. I'm gonna go chase everybody down before I go. It'll take forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm leaving, and then you have to go find the next person.
Yeah, no, my husband, he likes to do the 45-minute goodbye, so I'm the complete opposite. So it's painful when you're not that person. You just want to leave and you can't.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. It's like, I'm out of here. They know we left. Yeah, it'll be fine.
If they didn't, well.
Yeah. Oh well.
Uber knows how I got home.
Just leave your book on the table and just leave. Not a bad idea, but
yeah, just go to random parties and just like throw it on people's coffee tables and leave.
Hey, you like to read? Here you go. You never know. Yeah. So I want to thank you again for coming by. I had a great time. It was fun to chat with you finally after watching your channel for so long. So yeah, thanks for coming by to chat.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, let me know if you ever want to do it again.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
We'll talk about Chud. Yeah, I'll watch Chud. We'll talk about Chud.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'll have to rewatch it. It's been a while.
Have to refresh yourself.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone who came by to say hello. We appreciate it. And we will talk to everyone soon. Thanks everybody.
Okay, bye.